Hey everyone, welcome. So right now we are in session 7, right? So let me give a recap, and I'm gonna walk you guys through some of the main objectives and deliverables in this session, and then session 7, 8, 9 will kick off project 2, and by the end of session 9, so next 3 sessions, we're gonna be put together this next project, right? So today, we're officially starting the world of Project 2. So let me give a recap, and I'm going to tell you the objectives, right? And then we're going to keep this video short, just a couple of minutes to hit all of the milestone. And then next couple of videos, we're going to be diving into the details, right? So let's get started. As a recap, we just wrapped up Project 1, right? Project 1 is listed out here, and I just changed the date. So some people was, freaking out that the date maybe is not changed. No, the date is extended, as I said in the announcement. The deadline is last Friday, or excuse me, this Friday, which is yesterday. And if you need more time, of course, let me know. But obviously, you'll be running into the conflict of the next project, right? So you kind of have to, just reschedule yourself a little bit. If you're falling behind, let me know if you have questions, things like that. But hey, if you need more extensions, no problem at all. Just let me know. Um, Project 1, we talked about the scoring function. We talked about basic machine learning, right? Here's a text. Here is some sort of data, and then here's how you build a model, right? Linear regression, logical regression, how you build a model depending on what assumptions that you're making in your data, right? Once you have that knowledge, Project 1 takes you immediately into industry practice saying, hey, look, we're building a chatbot. The chatbot conducts some sort of search. We don't have a way to verify whether the search is credible or not. That's what the scoring function is doing. Scoring function look at the search result, whatever the result is that depend on your own build and your own use case. The scoring function can say, okay, this is 4 stars, or okay, this is 1 star. Maybe you don't rely on that reference. Great, that's project 1. If you understand that and you can put together an app that somehow does that, great. Now, a lot of students come to me and say, well, I don't have real data. Well, I don't know if model is correct. Not a problem, right? Not a problem at all. Um, we talk about landfills. We talk about evaluation. We talk about tracing, observability. You need to have end users to be on your app to collect data so that you can then train the model according to that data, right? But you're not going to have that unless you put the app in the hands of stakeholders. And you're not going to have an app if you're not building the app. So unfortunately, building the app comes first, data comes second, right? So that's the logic there. And that's the reason we're building this in project 1. So that some students, they actually spend the rest of the semester, put the app in the hands of stakeholder, and they collect the data. And then they train the model for that data. And that will be a fantastic way to do your final project. You're taking something you already built for project 1, and then you're iterating on that, right? So that's how we set up this class. That's how the project 1 is created. And that's the logic of creating project 1 in the beginning. And if you finish deliverable 1, 2, 3, and you understand like 90% of that, then you should understand how to do that part. You might not have real data yet, but that's okay. That comes after. Okay, so that's a recap. Now we're going to move on to project 2. The whole purpose of project 2 is to help you think about what does it mean when people say agentic AI, right? Exactly what does it mean when people say that? Well, on a high level, agentic AI basically means agents, right? Somewhere in your software, somewhere in your code, you are using agents, right? Now, exactly where you put the agent, that depends on the use case, right? That depends on the use case. Like, for example, project 1, you can talk to a chatbot. Maybe chatbot says, okay, now I want to do an internet search. Maybe this is not a question that the memory of the large language model have, right? Let's say a model is trained last year. You're asking about today's weather. Obviously, the model does not have that knowledge, right? In that case, you will have to call the internet search API. And what that means is it's effectively calling another tool that the LLM is hooked up to, but the tool is not LLM itself, right? So in that sense, you can kind of argue, hey, we are entering into a agentic AI world a little bit, right? Just a little bit, you're calling one tool, get a response back, just a little bit. But what Project 2 is doing is saying, hey, look, let's not stop there, right? Let's not stop there. You can call a tool, great. But what if the tool calls another tool? And then that tool calls another tool. And then somewhere down the road, you're like, okay, we gotta stop it, right? You can't just infinitely call tools, right? Somewhere down the road, you gotta stop it. And then you gotta come back and report the results back to the human user, right? So project two help you think about that. And the easiest way to help you think about that is this package called Tiny Troop, right? And the Tiny Troop is essentially a package that's completely based on language, and it's developed by the team from Microsoft. Let me take you to their GitHub repo. Let me go to the main page. Yeah, this is the main page, Tiny Troop. It's a package from Microsoft. This picture pretty much summarizes what the project is doing, right? And the final deliverable of this can be twofold, right? Um, you either expert of using Tiny Troop package or not. If you're expert of using Tiny Troop package, then fine, you can do that, right? Um, but this package is actually not too horrible to use. Um, but it's also not a perfect package to use, right? There's certain pain spots that the end user might want to be doing, but this package doesn't really deliver, right? So we're going to be talking about something like that, and then we're also going to completely democratize the system, and we're going to build something on our own in the end, right? So if you're able to do that, that wraps up project two. And that really depending on the student's experience. And this class has a wide variety of student background. So some of you might look at this and be like, oh yeah, I got it. Like I'm doing that in like an hour, right? And the next 3 weeks you have nothing to do. It's totally possible, right? I've seen that cases before. If you are that student, kudos to you, no problem. Um, some students say, hey, I'm gonna play around with Tiny Troop project for like a week, see how it goes. Trying to understand the pain spot. Where did I make a mistake? Where did I produce a bug? Things like that. And then the next week or the next 2 weeks, they then take that learning curve and then build something by themselves. That would be what I recommend to be the ideal case is you take things by steps. Tiny Troop is easier to set up. Just straightforward pip install, start talking to it, and then you can see things happen. And then versus all the way down the road, you might be like, okay, Tiny Troop does this, great, but Tiny Troop doesn't do that, and I'm going to build that, right? That knowledge and personal experience of interacting with an existing package give you that experience, give you that motivation to show you what can be done, what cannot be done. And the goal for project two is for everyone to experience that, right? It's very much like a small simulation. It's funny that Tiny Troop is actually by itself a simulation, but the entire project two is actually a simulation of you do your literature review, right? And then you then write a paper, and then you then see, what model you can build that's not in the literature, right? You're trying to identify the gap by doing literature review, right? So using Tiny Troop is kind of like that literature review, right? So that's why I want to start with this. Now that being said, it's not like the entire project two is about Tiny Troop, right? Project two kicks you off with the tutorial of Tiny Troop, right? So that's the motivation. That's why we're here, and that's what we're talking about when we say project two. Um, and then I want everyone to have the experience of using package like these, right? Because in the industry, you're going to use it a lot when it comes to this kind of stuff. And then with that being said, let me take you to these couple of deliverable. I should probably rename this a little bit. When I say app, people are thinking about like Streamlit application or web app or whatever. It doesn't have to be that complicated. The first deliverable is literally just a markdown file. Deliver a markdown file of conversation history that you've interacted with the chatbot, with the LLM when you were using the TinyTrue package, right? Next couple of videos, we're going to talk about TinyTrue. We're going to do an in-depth walkthrough. This video is just a high-level objective review, right? So that's a deliverable for um, the first deliverable for project 2. Now, back to table of contents. Deliverable 2 of project 2 is to take what you've learned and start building something by yourself, right? And again, everyone could be different. Everyone could be different. Now, of course, I'm going to give you guys lots of feedback. I'm going to give you guys lots of hints and lots of examples to show you guys how you can, pull out something like this. Um, Most likely, um, you should be able to finish this in just a matter of few hours. If you did project 1 fairly well and you understood everything in project 1, this is not a hard project, right? Because it's taking a lot of building blocks and tools we've learned from project 1. Now, of course, that's on purpose by design because if project 1, you kind of like missed out on a couple of things here and there, then obviously in project 2, it's a little bit of a review. So it's by design to be that way. And the deliverable 3, which is the last deliverable of project 2, will be this small web app that you can talk to it, and then somehow it does something in the backend and then give you some sort of results back. And that kicks off the entire agentic AI world. And there are so many ways to build something like this. And then hopefully the next couple videos, I'm going to be showing you guys different ways of building this agentic framework, right? And then that will finish project 2. And then last but not least, I want to, wrap this video up by the most important question. What on earth has this to do with the class material, right? So let me take you to the class material. Let me take you to the main page. This is the class material, right? So algorithm data science, you learn different algorithms, right? Different machine learning algorithms, different sampling algorithms, so on and so forth, right? We talk about the math, we talk about the code, there's Python code you can run, things like that, right? Like for example, session 5, we talk about sampling. You go to sampling, and then this is what we're talking about, right? There's some code here and there that you can run, right? So how do you tie this up with project 2? Why can't the sampling be done by an agent, right? That's the question that we are trying to achieve here, right? That's the motivation. Look, you and I know what is K-fold cross-validation, right? We talked about it. The notes is here, right? How do you get a machine to do that for you? And you just talk to the machine and say, hey, look, this is the data. Go do a K-fold validation or go do a sampling. Give me the statistics back and then be done with it, right? So I want you guys to start thinking at that level, right? So in other words, um, project 1, we are talking about linear regression, logistic regression. Okay, you have a scoring function, plug that into Java, boom, done, right? Things are hard coded, right? Because once you trigger internet search, you trigger the scoring function runs the algorithm that you train, and then it says, oh, yeah, it's 4 stars, right? What I want you guys to think about for project 2 is everything here can be one of the agent. And the agent can be at the tip of your finger to do things for you. And that's the future that we're walking in right now. And that's why the project 2 is structured this way, right? If you successfully finish project 1 and project 2, the end goal is you should be able to take either of these, so any one of these machine learning tools, if not all of them, to be that one agent that you just call. And then you can just talk to it, say, hey, here's the data, do a linear regression. Hey, here's the data, do a sampling. Hey, here's the data. I don't know what features to use. Find me a good feature, right? That's a model selection, and that requires what? Sampling, right? So that's how you tie things together. So let me land on that. Think about what I just said, and then think about how you can achieve that with the knowledge of project 1 and project 2. And yeah, let's just have some fun together. So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.